cybersecurity has to do with protecting your data, protecting your information, protecting organizations' data, and the rest. So, let me see.
Computer.
You say?
No, no, nothing.
Okay. All right. So, let me present my screen. Just let me know when you can see my screen. Okay. So, and I talked about different type of
I can see
hackers.
your screen.
All right. So I talked about different kind of hackers. I talked about the white hat hackers, gray hat hackers, um, and those ones are under the
Black,
hackers, right? There's and I also talked about the amateurs.
black hat.
So I talked about the amateurs. The amateurs can be regarded as the street kiddies, okay, and I also talked about um, I also talked about the activists. Yes. So the activists, those ones entails like state-sponsored attacks or nation-sponsored attacks. That one would now lead to something called the cyber warfare, right? So cyber warfare is when maybe a state or a country, employ
Yeah,
attackers or hackers or deploy hackers to carry out a particular task in against a country or against an organization. So that's what causes what is called cyber warfare. Then I also talked about the different kind of information a hacker would want to get from you, which would might include your PII, your personally identifiable information, um, your PHI, your personal health information. So those are the two major things. So hackers might also go to might also attack organizational database or customer information, you know, and so on. Let me see. Let me open up some of all this so we can just be refreshing ourselves. So I also talked about some attacking techniques, right, and vulnerabilities. Okay, we looked at some different case scenarios of attackers. There's social engineering. Social engineering involves pretexting, tailgating, you know, forcing people or manipulating people to give information that they are not supposed to give out. So that's social engineering. Talk about DOS attack. That's this denial of service. Okay, denial of service is overwhelming a server such that the server will no longer be able to respond to requests that are being made again. So moving on to the next part, we talked about how to protect data, what you should do to protect your devices, right? That was what we talked about the firewall, having antivirus or anti-malware, anti-spyware, right? And changing passwords, right? And in changing password, we talked about the multi-factor authentication. So in passwords, we talked about password requirements. Remember, we said we'd use uppercase, lowercase, special characters such as exclamation mark, the at sign, hashtag, dollar sign, percent, character ampersand, and asterisk bracket. These are generic special characters that are on every that are these are special characters that are generic to every almost every keyboard. Okay, and I was saying that you should not use things like euro sign or naira sign in your password because you might not get to see them on every keyboard. When it's not available on a keyboard, it becomes a challenge. Putting your password becomes a challenge. um then You can see here as an example of a password. You can see um there's a space bar in this one, and at sign is not integer 3, integer 0 in place of O, right? So those are different ways you could what manipulate your passwords. Then we also talked about backing up. We did a lab on how to create backups on files, right? And I talked about file systems also. Mm. Then lastly, in this first part, we talked about protecting organizations. So organizations have some kind of policies, okay, that might recommend or force its staff to change passwords regularly. Okay, so I also showed you how to set password policies, right? And I showed you how to find the firewall and so many other stuff that we did. We also did some labs, okay, where we looked at different websites for auto generating passwords. We also looked at some plugins, okay, pass on password managers. We talked about Google Password Manager. We talked about LastPass, right? We also used the LastPass as a case study when LastPass was hacked and some organizations' data were breached. We also talked about when some organizational data was breached from by using passwords and usernames of parents and children, okay, because their customers information was given out. How did they get that information? They got it through a hard drive that they got access to. So those are the different things we looked at there. um and the next thing we did was the Windows operating system, where I showed you the task
Linux.
manager, right? I showed you task manager, showed you the performance, right? Showed you how to check the application that is having a high usage of your CPU or memory, right? Or your hard drive, or probably your network. Also explained what services were and how services work. There are several applications use different services. Okay, we also talked about the Windows registry. Okay, and we also talked about Windows user in the control panel. We looked at the control panel and we did some stuff. We opened users, right? We changed user account settings right here. We changed an account from a standard user account to administrator, right? And I told you the administrator had the highest privilege, okay, high privileges. So when it's a standard user account, the account would not be able to make changes that will affect the entire security of the system, but can only make changes that will affect the account personally or individual account. Then, so I also talked about this local security policy, right? Where I showed you how to set up password policies here. That's under account policies. You see password policies, and you can see the maximum number of password history, minimum number of password age, minimum password age, minimum password length, right? And I told you that you could explore other policies that you can set up in your system. And the next thing we looked at was using the virtual machine. Okay, so we dealt with two different um, Unix based Linux operating system. So which is a cyber workstation, and I sent a link to download the cyber workstation. Mr. Kayode, I'm going to send you that link privately so you can download it. And if you watch the previous video, you're going to see how to download this particular virtual machine. So on this particular virtual machine, when I opened it, I showed you how to use the site text editor. the terminal, um,
Okay,
how to
thank you.
manipulate files, edit, use the nano text editor to edit a file, right? So I'm going to still be explaining why it's coming up. So my Linux machine is booting at the moment. I also showed us how to add this particular
Yes.
appliance to the Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so and I showed you that the Linux operating system is just very similar to the Windows. Okay, it's just very similar to the Windows, just that it appears differently and looks more like even MacBook operating system or Mac OS. And I showed you, explained that the Linux uses different file systems. Okay, and we edited this particular file with the nano text editor. You can see we can edit the file. I showed you how to save, how to um open the file, because next time when you want to open with the um site text editor, it's not going to have the file automatically open there. You have to go to new, go to open, and ensure that you click on all files, and you're going to find the space.txt here, and you can open it. And I also showed you how to do that with the terminal, because if you use the terminal and you type nano, or let's use the site space.txt, it automatically will open up this file for you, this file with the site application. And I also talked about the nano text editor, which is NNO, and you can use the nano text editor to open the space.txt file, and you can see it has opened it here. So and you can actually type something new. So after typing something new, if you wanted to save, right, you just need to use your click on Control X to exit. It's actually save modified buffer. If you click on Y, it's going to save. Then to give you the ability to what, change the name here, right? So you can choose to just hit the enter, and your file is going to be saved. So if I should open it now with space.txt, you'll find out that what I had before, as what I added with nano, has been added here. So I can close this back. So that was some things that we did. I also showed you the Wireshark, alright, how Wireshark can be used to monitor um traffic on your internet, which I said we are going to discuss further when we get to the main course, right? That if you open Wireshark like this now, and once I click on start capturing, alright, you can't see anything here. But by the time I open my browser on this particular virtual machine and I type something, you can see now I'm still having requests going because my browser has still loading its session. So if I should enter google.com, so it's going to load, right? So Google is telling you to accept cookies. Alright, so we have this, and once I click on stop capturing, website is going to stop capturing. So in future we can actually discuss more about this, how we get to see the destination IP address. So I also in the terminal I also talked about how you can view your IP address. So if you just write IP address on the terminal, it's going to show you the information about your IP. You can see the host and you can see this. Then on Windows, if I should open my command prompt, right, if I wanted to show my IP address, typing IP address here does not work because it's different for Linux. Linux you type IP address, but in Windows now you can use IP config to show your network information. And right here, you can see my network adapter, right? My wireless network adapter with my IP address here, 192.168.0.161. And I can actually ping 192.168.0.161 here. And you're going to see that my host machine can communicate with my virtual machine right here. So still loading, all that's loading. So that was, there were several other stuff that we did with this terminal here. We like we changed the color, we edited configuration files, changed the color of this from red to green, change it again to yellow, right? Just some little tweaks that everybody can play around on their own. All right, so that was it. Before we moved on to Python,
Okay, Python.
yeah. So before we moved on to Python, and in Python, let me open this one. So in Python, we talked about um, Python computations, how we can do and use computations in Python, say what type of command, this thing and stuff. And in Python, if you write, for instance, if you write 1 space plus 1, okay, it still gives you 2 because Python does not recognize this space bar as anything, right? You can also do asterisk for multiplication. You use the asterisk, right? And for for exponent, you use what, the double asterisk. So if I do this, it's going to give me 16. That is 2 raised to the power 4. Um, funny, you should understand this. Python does not understand this, so you have to use the asterisk. So that works better. Right, I talked about variables also. You put variables inside a box. Variables is like a container where you put item. I can assign a variable to an integer, right? And multiply the two integers together. Say a times b, and it's going to give it. And I said variables are um case sensitive in the sense that letter small letter a, okay, is not the same thing as capital letter A. So for example, I can assign capital letter A to another number, say 9. And if I say a, this is going to, small letter a is going to print 5, and capital letter A is going to print 9. So Python recognizes both of them as two different variables. I also said that variables do not start with small with numbers, right? They can start with underscore. You can say underscore a equals 5. So if I should print underscore a, it's going to give me what, 5. But variables can't start with a number, say 1a. You now also assign it to something and it's going to print a key. It's going to give you error. You can see value does not equal total. So variables do not start with numbers, but they can end with numbers. I can say a1 equals 4. You can see that I can now print a1 again. It's going to give me 4. So that is that for variables in Python. And then I also talk about the lists, and I said that lists are denoted by square brackets in Python. So I can start a list by saying my list, all right, and equals to, I'll put the square bracket and put items here. Let's say, and um mosquito. So I'm just trying to list as many insects as possible: dragon, fly, housefly, butterfly. So I'm going to put butterfly in a square bracket. So my list is complete now. So if I should print my list, so it's going to print out all my different items in the list. So if I should say my list, right, and put a number there. I said every item in the list has index numbers starting from 0 to the end. So we are counting from the left hand side. The first index number is 0, which is what? Ant, right? So mosquito is what? 1, dragonfly 2, housefly 3, butterfly 4. So if I wanted to print dragonfly, I would say what? Put 2 in this square bracket. That's what? Dragonfly for me. So if I wanted to put dragonfly to the end, I can say my list, right, and put dragonfly, which is 2, and I'm going to do to the end. So you can see now it has printed from the dragonfly to butterfly. So if I should print what if I wanted to print and skip mosquito, print dragonfly, skip housefly and print butterfly. So I'm going to say uh my list, right, and starting from ant is going to start from 0, okay, and end where at butterfly, which is what? Let's say -1. So if I want, instead of me to write -1, then I wanted to go to the end, I can just leave it blank and put another colon and do an increment of what? 2 and close it back. So you can see I have ant there, mosquito skip, dragonfly, housefly skip, and what? Butterfly. If I wanted to finish from the beginning, I can just simply do my list, right, and just put something like this and print it and end at what? Drag housefly. Housefly is what? -2, because we're counting from the right hand side. This is -1. Butterfly is -1, counting from the right hand side. Housefly is what? -2. So if I should print this, it's going to print what? Ant, mosquito, and what? Dragonfly. It's not going to print housefly. So that's it about this. And I also talked about tuples, and I see tuples are denoted with what? Brackets, normal brackets. So if I say my tuple, right, I'm going to put, let's say I wanted to put numbers there, 2, 5, 3, 6. Again, I was talking about tuples, and I said tuples are denoted with normal brackets, right? And one thing you need to know about tuples and dragonfly is that tuples are immutable. I said tuples and dragonfly, tuples and lists rather. It's not, tuples are immutable, which means that you cannot add items to tuple, but you can add items to lists. For example, if I wanted to add an item to my list, so I can do my list dot append, right, and put what? A new item inside and say,
I can't see your screen.
you can't see my screen.
I'm seeing it.
Yes.
Oh,
Now is my network.
Okay, can you see my screen now? So I was saying that you can add items to a list,
No.
items to a list. Maybe you should try disconnecting and connecting back. So if you add an item to a list,
Okay.
okay, you can use a normal bracket, right? You use my list dot append and you open a normal bracket, you put the item you want to add, you put the item you want to add. For example, in this case, we want to add B, right? So one next I print my list, we're going to see that B has been added to the end of our list. So we can actually add items to the list in other way. You can remove items from list by doing list.pop. You can using the pop. You can also replace by using the insert method and all that. Then we also talked about dictionary. So dictionaries are key value pairs. Okay, they are key value pairs in Python. Let me going to actually create a new one. Okay. Oh. So let me open a new Python terminal. Alright, so we have our new Python terminal set. So for dictionaries, let's say my dict, okay, will be equal to this. I use curly brackets to represent dictionaries, and you put the key value here. For example, we're using alien as an example. Let me use alien 0, right, equals to, now I wanted to attribute different things to that alien. For example, the color, right, the color of the alien, and we have red. Let us assume we are going to make a game. We also have what the number of points that alien will be assigned. We can see 5 points, right? So now, okay, let's say as I'm making a mistake. So instead of, you don't use equal to, actually you are supposed to use a colon. I didn't even realize that. So we have this as attributes to our alien. So if I should print my alien 0, yeah, 0 has this attribute, which is red, and what has 5 points. So if I wanted to print the color of alien 0, I can say alien 0 color. So alien 0 color is going to give us what? Red. Wanted to also, let's say we wanted to check the point. So put alien 0 point, right? We have what? 5 points. So that's exactly how to access values or key value pairs within a dictionary. Then I also talked about input. For this one, I would need to use my code, which is my VS code, to do it. So running from my VS code, I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen and share it again. All right, so we have this, right? You can see my screen. So in my VS Code now, I'm going to be using it for this particular um example, right? So I was going to talk about the input. So I was saying that if you wanted to collect input from an individual, oh, me talking about this now is like I'm going to give you the answer to the assignment that I just gave. It's not bad. So we have input. If you wanted to collect an input, we cannot say let's say put a value inside A and ask the individual, let's say call it age, okay, and ask the individual to input. Okay, we're not going to do it this way, and that's it, like enter your age. So if I should run this code, or before that, let me print something out, and I say print your age years old. Okay, so when I print this, when I run this code, okay, Python is going to actually tell me to input a value here. Once I put let's say 18, you can see now it says what you are 18 years old. So that's actually how to accept inputs from someone. So what if I wanted to add that particular age and tell the person that you'll be so so age in the next 2 years? So I can say you will be age plus, let me create another value, new age equals age plus 2. All right, so we have new age because age plus 2. So you'll be age new age years old in the next 2 years. All right, so if I should run this code now, Python is going to tell me to impute a value for age. So I should put 9 years. Now you can see it's giving me an error, right? That says what it can only what concatenate string, not integer. So I need to what add an integer plus an integer. So I have to convert this input to an integer by saying what age equals what int, put the age inside, right? So this time around it has been converted to what an integer, so such that when I run the code and I put 9 years again, or I put 9 again in this space and I hit enter, you can now see you will be 11 years old in the next 2 years. Did you see that? So that's a way to what convert an input from string to an integer. Okay, so we also dealt with something like the for loop, right? When we were talking about list, that one we used movies, right? And we had a list of movies. And let's say we had June, we had, why don't we also use fruit? I think it's much more easier. Okay, we have orange, we have purple, we have mango, we have pear, we have guava, and we have lime. All right. So we have this one. So I showed us how to use a for loop. For example, wanted to print every individual item here. I can now say for fruit in fruit. Mind you, these are two different variables. Fruit is in plural, is in singular. This one is in plural. So this one that is in plural is already defined here. That's when I highlight it. Automatically, what highlights itself here too. So I'm going to put a colon and I'll say what print what I. I'm going to put it in a string. I ate. Let me use the F string to format it. I ate fruit, right? So when I run this code, you're going to see I ate orange, I ate pawpaw, I ate mango, I ate pear, I ate guava, and the rest. So you can see I ate orange, I ate pawpaw, I ate mango, I ate pear, I ate guava, I ate lime. So that's exactly how to run through every item on a list. Then another thing we did was to I showed you how to use the if else statement. For example, I'll say, let me still use this one. So if fruit is the same thing as what? Um, let's say it's mango, alright. Print I ate fruit. Let me use dot upper so that the mango will be written in capital letter. So when I run this, I'm supposed to put a colon here. So once I run this, there's supposed to be an indentation here also. So you can see now it prints what I ate mango. Do you see that? I ate what mango because I want to look for what just mango on this list. So it's going to Python is going to walk through all the list. It's not going to perform any action until it what meets this condition. And once this condition is met, it's going to what print I ate mango. So if I should put another condition here, like the else, right? I'm going to put colon there. Print. Let's use an F string. I did not eat fruit. So let's assume we wanted to tell everybody that it was only mango we ate. We didn't eat orange, we didn't eat pawpaw, we didn't eat pear, we didn't eat guava, we didn't eat lime. So when I run this code, you can see this. I did not eat orange, I did not eat pawpaw, I ate what mango, I did not eat what pear, I did not eat guava, I did not eat what lime. What if I wanted to add more items that I ate? That's where the elif comes in. I can say elif, right? Fruit, put my condition, the same thing as what this time around I ate mango and pear. So I'll put pear here and I'm going to put a colon and add my print statement. Print and put another F string and say I ate fruit dot upper. Okay, I'm going to put this also here. So now when it gets to pear, it's going to write I ate pear and put pear in what uppercase. So once I run this, you see now you can see I ate mango and I ate pear, but I did not eat what orange, I did not eat pawpaw, I did not eat what guava, I did not eat what lime. So that's exactly how to use the if, elif, and else statements. So did we get that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So before we continue, is there any other? Do we have questions concerning this?
No, but I want you to talk about the airstrip and outstrip.
The what?
The space like airstrip and out.
Okay. The left strip and out strip. Okay. So that one is used when you're removing white space, right? When you're using removing white space in a text. So for example, now let me give an example for you to use that you would understand. Mm, let's say my strip. Let's use my stripe, my str equals what? A string. Now this string I have space here and I have space and I have another space here. So I can say print my dot what. So you can see all the different methods here apart from the underscore. So this way I can now use left strip. So else strip, right? Once I use else strip, let me also hide all these ones here. Okay. So that Python does not run there. Remember I showed you how to do that. Okay. So we have ant. So we have ant dot r strip. Let me put let me put plus so that you see the so you can see now ant boy, okay, because there's a space here. That's why this ant has an item here. It's not going to enable you to see the strip very well. Let me add another variable and say, let's say b equals what? Boy. Alright, so I'm going to print this plus b. So let's run this. Alright, so we have else strip here. So that's removing the white space on the left side. So what if I change it to what? R strip. So if I should change to R strip, you find out that the space, there are two spaces here, right? One, two. You can see one, two. So once I run this code now, you see now the left space has appeared back, and the space after the ant has reduced to what? One. That's because of what? The R strip. So that's just what it does. It's just to help remove, let's say you're typing email, you're typing telling someone to input email. So in your program, sometimes when you type an email in a website and you put space bar after the I after typing your email, it's going to give you an error. So that's where this left strip and R strip comes in. Okay, so what they just do in their code is like, for example, let's say this is email. All right, email equals to so. Okay, and gmail.com. Let's assume the person just copied and paste. I want to go and copy extra space. So what they will now do again? They'll say email equals what? Email dot r strip. All right, they'll still do it again and say email equals what? Email dot l strip. So when next we now print what? Let me put the email here. You'll find out that it's not going to add an extra line here. Let me just put the f string inside so that you see it as plain text. Your mail is okay. Your email address is comma, then email is going to come in. All right, so I'm going to put full stop so that you see at the end that there's no putting three dots there, there's no space. So do you now see it says what your email address is? You can see it's only the normal space that I kept here that is there. If I should remove this space here, you see that there's no more left strip. Do you see now? There's no more space here. .com. Are you seeing after a .com? There's no space here. If I should put space here, okay, and put space here, you see that there will not be space after .com. So do you now see there's space after .com now, and the space after this here. So that's what the left strip and out strip does. You just so that it will avoid it's used to avoid some errors in field, especially when you expect people to enter their name, enter their email address, enter password, or just remove the extra space that the person might add by mistake. That's what the left strip and out strip and right strip does. So does that explain it?
Yes.
All right. So let's do something new before we call it a day today. We still have some time. All right. So just gonna get rid of everything I have here. Okay. We talked about the conditions. So what we should be talking about now? We've also talked about dictionaries. So I think the next thing we're talking about is functions. Right? Functions. We've not talked about the while loop, have we? We've not talked about the while
No.
loop. Okay. Alright, let me show you while loop. Okay. So while loop actually is used to like repeat a certain thing until a particular condition is met. Okay. For example, the for loops now, the for loop takes a collection of items, executes a block of code, and once for every item in that particular collection. So, but in the case of the while loop now, the while loop actually runs a particular code, okay, while a particular condition that you put is true. So for example now, if we say current number equals 1, okay, and we now say while is a keyword, current number is less than or equals to 5, okay, put colon, number is a loop, so print current number, right? And what reduce increase current number what by 1. If you want to do that, you can say current number, okay, plus equals 1. So for every count, it's going to what increase the current number by 1 step. So in the first line now, we start counting from 1, okay, by assigning that particular number 1 to current, or the value 1 to current number. Then the while loop is set to keep running. Whenever while loop runs, as so far a particular statement is true or a condition is true, continue running and continue doing it again, repeating it again until that condition is no longer true before it stops. So as we run this code now, you see that it counted from what 1 to 5. If I should increase this number here to 10, it's going to keep counting until it gets to what 10. Look at this. You see, if I should put 100, as long as this number has not gotten to 100, remember we're adding increasing this number by what 1, by 1 step, okay, as long as it has not increased up to what 100, this code is still going to continue running. Let me show you. You see, it's still running. You see that until it gets to what 100. So that's exactly how the while loop works. Okay, let me see. Let me use another example. Let me check for another example if I can find one. um so for example now, let's say we are going to use this and say say equals what, this time around let's use it, put it in a new line, and now say what, type something, and I will type it back. Okay, and I'll type it back. So let me put a space there. So now this prompt says type this. All right, so the next thing again, I'm going to say all right, plus equals, right, supposed to be quotes, enter what, quit. So in program. So now let me erase this part. I can now say message equals, I'm going to put an empty quote so that there's nothing inside, right? So while I do that, Just give me a minute, please. Um, Give me a minute. Let me quickly send something. All right, let's continue. Sorry for the break. Okay, so now I can say, well, message, all right, is not equal to, now this time around, not equal to, right? I'm not using equal to, not equal to quit. So I'll always put my colon there, right? Message equals input, then I'm going to call that my particular prompt here, which is what say, so that whenever I run this statement, it's going to what print out this thing. Okay. All right. So I'm also going to what print message. Now, if I should run this code, let's look at what is going to happen. Okay, I'm having an error. Contaminated string. Oops. Oops, 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 oops. Let me use double quotes here. Okay, so this is double quotes since I'm having a single quote within. Remember I explained that too. All right. So 19 what? Type something and I will type it back. So enter quit to end program. So now right now, I'm going to put space here to end program. So I'm going to type something and say my name. So once I run it, it will now say it back to me by saying what? Rollins. Do you see that? And I'm going to type again. Baby. It's going to write type baby here. So once I type what? Quit. Before it will what? Quit the program. So you can see now the program has stopped running. If I should run it again, let's run it again so you understand. So after running this program, we have already assigned this particular variable. Type something. This backward slash and n signifies new line, just so that you understand. And this one means that the next time say is being called, it will enter this, it will what? Print out this new thing here. So that's why we have um, this first statement and the second statement. All right. Let me put a colon here. So now message is going to run because message has been given assigned a word quote, an empty quote, which means that it's going to what? Be a string. So by the time you type an item, it's going to Python is going to recognize it automatically what? As a string. So when you type it, okay, It's going to run this message again. It's going to run this while loop again and say what? While message is not equal to quit, you know, call what? Message. So if you type message again, it's going to come back here again. It's going to print this and come back again to the while loop and ask you again, print this, print this. Is message equal to quit? If message is not equal to quit, it should come back to while loop again. So until you type quit here, before it was terminate what? The program. But guess what? It's also going to still print what? Quit. So that's exactly how this program works. That's how to use the while loop. So there are several other methods for using while loop. Okay, there are several other methods which you can always explore. Um, let me see. We can also use the if statement inside. We can also use the if statement inside the while loop, right? We can also use the if statement. Now, let me show you how the if statement works. All right. So let's assume this. Um, type your name. Okay. Type your name. Then enter quit when you are finished. Or let's leave that so. Enter quit to end program. So this time around, I'm going to say name, right? Now I can say while true. Okay. Let me bring this name here. So name equals to what? Let's say let's impute let's say so that it brings out it plays what is exactly what is here. This is no longer needed. So now we're going to add an if statement here. If name, okay, is the same thing as what? Quit. What's going to happen? We should end it. That we use break. So else print let me use an f string. Your name is name. Now, so which means that whenever we run this thing, okay, since we're having a while true here, so this true is actually supposed to be a capital letter T. It's not small letter t. Just so you know, you can see it has changed to blue now. Capital letter T. So when I run this code now, it's going to ask me to what? Enter my name. So Rollins. I had an error there. Let me run it again because I was pressing what didn't make sense. So let me type it here. So you can see now your name is what? Rollins. So it's going to continue running again over and over again until what? I type quit. So you can see it has ended. So I'm showing you this while loop because when we move to the next project, after this first one I told you to do a write a code to check if a number is prime. You're going to actually do a dice rolling simulator, all right, such that you to keep on rolling the dice and bringing out random numbers until you press quit. That's when the dice will stop rolling. So if you roll out that simulator, imagine you build application, you build application completely. You can actually use it for yourself. Let me say to cast a to cast lots or whatever you want to use it for. So that's going to be it for the while loop. Let's advise you to go through that PDF. You're going to see several more examples there on that PDF. Okay, we're going to see
Okay,
several
sir.
more examples. I'm going to send you Mr. Khalid, I'm going to
Kayode.
send you the PDF personally because
Okay,
you
sir.
don't have access to it yet. I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
So let's look at function now. All right, let's look at functions. This is where things get interesting, and we are using a lot of methods here. Dot this, dot that. Those are actually inbuilt functions that have been defined by Python. All right, we can create a function to perform
Yeah.
mathematical operations. We can create a function to do some certain things, um, such that whenever we call that function, an action is being carried out. Okay. For example, now, let me use a simple function here that says, if you want to define a function, you use var, all right? Then you type the name of the function you want to type. Let's say greet greet me. So you put this right and put a colon. So we can now type something here and just say, um, let me just use a comment for now. Say, all right, then print. So printing hello. When I now call greet greet me, okay. I keep typing zero by myself. I don't know why. Okay. So when I do this, you'll see that but once I run this code, it's going to what? Print what? Hello. Now, when I say type something, I wrote this because you can actually put several things inside this space, this small space that you're saying here. There are several things that you can add to your function. Since whatever you want your function to even carry out at all in the first place, you can just type it inside there. So it's not actually useful for me to even type anything there for now. I just put it there so that you know that something can actually enter into that space. Okay, for example now, um let's add some items to our function. For example, we say type of animal. Let's call this describe pet. Okay. Now the first item we are going to that's going to be called is what? The type of animal. Let's say animal type, comma, then pet name. So now these have become two variables. Okay, this is a function that carries what? Two variables called what? Animal type and what? Pet name. So we're going to print something now and say print my pet is a or an. Let's put animal type, all right, comma, and its name is. Okay, I'm having an error there because I'm using single quotes. Always try to use double quotes for your strings. And its name is what? Pet name. All right. So now When we are now calling this particular function, for example, say describe pet, we can now say describe pet and put the two. Let's say assume my pet name is what? My pet name is dog. My pet is a dog and its name is what? Jaja. So when I run this, you see the code, it's going to print my pet is, you can see my pet is what? A and dog, you can see, and its name is what? Jaja. You see how the two variables that are within here, which is what we actually entered here, were used to what? Inside this particular function. So you can actually write a function to carry out the area of a circle or the area of a triangle. For example, now area of, let's say, area of triangle or area of square. Let me use something simple. Let's say the length, we use the length as L and the breadth as B. Okay, so now this is where we now use something here. We now say what? Print print what? No, before we go to the print, we want to do the length times breadth, right? We'll now say um we can do this directly here. We can say print L times B. Okay, now we now wanted to find, let's say we wanted to find the area of a triangle and we're giving, we have the two length and breadth of triangle. Let's say area of square, rather I keep saying triangle. Area of square, the length is what? 5 comma, and the breadth is what? 7. So if I should run this, you see the answer is what? 35. Automatically Python gives you the answer without you having to what? Calculate the answer. So that next time when you call the um, area of something, you don't necessarily need to type the formula again. You just use whatever you have dot area. That's in advanced programming. So I can equally do the same thing here and say print C and define it here and say C is equal to what? L times B. So when I do this and I run it, it's going to print what? 35 still. So that's still another way to do it. Alright, so that's just something very basic about functions. Okay, so we can also have default values in functions. All right, we can set default values. For example, area of square, normally we can say every square must be what? Must have a breadth. Let me use height as h. Let me use height as h. Every square should have a height of what? 10. So since every square has a height of 10 now, we now want to do length times height, right? And print the value of what? C. Then say area equals what? Length times height, and print what? Area. Alright, so area of square now, I can now say length equals what? 4. So I can now run this code. You see that my answer is going to be what? 40. Because we have said that every height should be what? 10. But what if I did 2 comma 4 and I run the code? You see it's still going to work. So I can say 2 comma L equals 5 and run this code. you can see it's going to give you an error because L is supposed to come as what? The first item here, and it's expecting H to be the second item. But let's move it now to this point. Okay, I'll run our code again. So it's still going to give us an error. So instead, you have to just leave that place blank and run your code, and it's going to work normally. So that's it concerning how to the basic way of using functions. There are several other ways you're going to use functions which you'll be using your project normally. But let me see if I can get another example. Okay, so what if we wanted to have three values here, three items here? We can say full name. Let's call this now full name. Okay. Looks like I lost connection again. Let me reconnect. Okay. If we wanted to have three different values, let's say full name, and the different values will be first name, small letter, middle name, last name. So I can now say full name. Let me use this one. Let me put formatted name. So full name is equal to what? F string. I put the what? First name. Okay, we put a space. We put middle name. Put a space there. I put last name. So print what? Full name. So here now, I can now have, using my name, I can say first name, my middle name, let's use Ben, my last name, let's say Yoda. So if I should run this code, don't forget we're not calling area of square again, we're calling formatted name. So if I should run this code now, everything is supposed to be in a string, just so you know. Python is going to have an error. Python is going to take them as variables. So by doing this now, you can see Rollins Ben what together. That's my full name here. You can see that. So that's how to run two different variables. So let's wrap up here. In the next class, I'll be showing you how to make one particular variable within this function optional. such that we can enter something and skip the other one. For example, you can skip typing what's middle name, and you just, let's say some people that don't have middle name now, okay, you just type their name like that. They can just give only two input and it's not going to give you an error, because at this point now, if I should do this and run it, you can see I have an error here. So if I should run it again, still I'm going to have an error because I'm missing what one required positional argument, which is your last name. So we're going to look at that in our next class.